Howdy! Today we are going to discuss Access Chapter 1, which is just our introduction to Access. Access is a database program and it seems similar to Excel in many ways, but it's far more complex because what Access is a way to structure data so that we don't have duplications of data and so that we can extract what we need in the way of reports and other things from that data. So when we open Access, it looks like this. I apologize that I have opened Access so many times today that Enable Editing button will not pop up for me. But when you open the database the first time, it's going to ask you if you want to enable editing. And then maybe if I do file save as here, let's try that. And go ahead and save it, which is the first thing that you should do after you open it so that you know where it is. There we go. Yes, I want to replace it. Okie doke. And see the enable access, or the enable, it did not pop up for me again. So we have in Access tables, queries, forms, and reports. The queries, the forms, and the reports all come from the information on the tables. The forms and reports rely upon the query to pull the information out of the database. All of these things are related, and I'm going to pop up another database here real quickly with an entity relationship diagram which defines the relationships. Now, this is can be pulled out so that you can see a little more clearly how everything is related. So we have a product has a category, a product has a supplier. And then we have order details, which include products. So order ID, quantity, and then we have the actual order itself. And the order comes from both a customer and an employee. And we have customers, employees, order details, orders, products, and suppliers. And this is how they all relate. This is called the key field. And this is the key field here. And then we notice that customer ID also exists in the orders table. So the orders and the products all come together in an order, which is the goal of the business, to create the order. So we have the employee ID here, but it is not the primary key. But it links to it, and that's how the data is linked. So you are going to just barely scratch the surface of Excel Access. I'm so sorry. And I want you to understand that you are in no way, after taking these few weeks of study of Access, ready to go and create a database for someone. This is a very, very simple database. And I'm going to show you a real entity relationship diagram from a real project. When I was in graduate school, I was the student lead on a project that was building a system for the Rural and Community Health Initiative at A&M. And this is the entity relationship diagram from that. So as we zoom in, you'll see that we have case information here. We have a facility. We have a provider. So that would have been the doctor. We have an individual review form. We have committees, and that's the committee that was reviewing it. And all of these things, it gets very complex to say the least. So you have to structure the data well, because there are going to be thousands or millions of entries in it, and every piece of data, the relationships have to be defined, and they're broken down in a way that you eliminate data redundancy, because we don't want two locations or data to be held in two locations. We want to be able to update the data one time, and it's going to go to the table where the data is held only. So let's look a little more closely at our other database, and I don't care if you save changes or not. So here we go. On the tables, if I just double click and open, it's going to open it in a datasheet view. And the datasheet view looks very much like Excel. The big difference is that when I go into design view, that's where you see the difference. So we have the field name, and then it has a data type, but that field name also has many other characteristics which you will be setting. In the first exercise, it's going to be very simple, and you're not going to be setting very many data types, but you will be dealing with this sum. So we have two tables on this little exercise, and then we have our query, and that expands and contracts so that when you have a big, huge database, you can actually collapse these so that you can see what it is that you're looking for. So if all I was looking for was queries, I can open that up, and I don't have to deal with all of the other things, because this list, as you can imagine, that ERD for Archie would get quite large. So we have a File tab, and that takes us to the Backstage view. We have a Home tab, and we have our clipboard objects here, and then our views. Depending upon what you're looking at, you're going to have more than one view. So if we go to Reports, you'll notice, I'll open it. Oh, it won't let me right now. Make sure it's spelled correctly. So there's something weird about that. But you will have more views in a report than you do here. And the Create tab is where all the action happens. We can create tables, we can create queries, forms, reports, macros, and code we will not be dealing with in this course. So notice though that for queries I have a query wizard and query design. And then for forms I have form design, blank form wizard, navigation, and more forms. And you will be looking at those things. So I have report design, blank report, labels. Pay attention, because one exercise later is going to ask you to create labels, and there's the button right there. And we have a report wizard. The wizards are very nice because they help you and don't let you forget about any decision that you need to make regarding what it is you're building. So we have a report wizard, we have a form wizard, we have a query wizard, and we don't have a table wizard because, well, it's pretty simple actually. All right, external data. You will be using this. At one point we will import some data from Excel, and there's your button to do so. Database tools. We will be looking at object dependencies and relationships, and you need to know about compacting and repairing a database, but you're really not going to need to do that. And then depending upon what object we have open, we get our content-sensitive menu items. And this is the menu for our tables. So we can deal with our relationships on our tables, validations, insert rows, delete rows, modify lookup, set the primary key, and then look at our views. And then there's a property sheet as well. So in addition to the field properties that are down here, there's a whole nother list of properties right over here. And I can close it, and I can reopen it, as long as you know where things are. And of course we know, and you know by now, that knowing where the function or feature is the key to actually being able to find it and complete the project. So let's go back to Datasheet View. I can right click. Also, I don't have to go up there, and I can go to Datasheet View. And our sort and filter, we're going to be using that a lot. You need to know that under Advanced is where you find filter by form, advanced filter sort, and then selection. Here we have things that we can add to be able to select. So filter by form gives you that ability to set criteria. You will use that in your guided practice and your independent practice for Chapter 1. There are templates that you can use in database, just like there are in Word. So if I go to File, New, and then look at the different templates that they would have students, event management, services, product inventory, task management, price comparison, nutrition tracking. Very interesting. But let's just take a quick look at this inventory. I'm just going to download the template, and it's going to take just a minute. We hope it won't take very long. And probably my enable content button will pop up with this because it's downloading something new. And it did not disappoint me. Good. So there's the enable content, and that's a security warning because you can have programming within Access that can make changes to your computer. So you need to pay attention when you get those warnings. And let's open this up and let's have a look at what we have already in here. So in here already, we have our tables. We have, let's see, that's the employees, suppliers, supporting objects. Oh my goodness gracious. So these supporting objects, you can see that if you had to do this, this would be a good place to start. And I'm going to change this to object type, which is the view that you were looking at. So now we have it defined by whether it is a query, whether it is a form. And this is what I was talking about being able to collapse these types, and that we get a list that's pretty long. And if all you were looking for was a particular report, then you would want to look here. Let's double click that. This doesn't have any data in it. And let's just take a real quick look at the entity relationship diagram for this particular one. And it's not real complicated. It's pretty simple, as a matter of fact. So we have employees, we have inventory transactions, we've got suppliers. I didn't mean to do that. I meant to do that. And I like to move things around so that the relationships become clear. And so you can see that it would be very advantageous to use a template because you've got a whole lot of stuff set up for you, and they already did queries and reports for you. So let's see, supplier address book, inventory to reorder. So that's going to have a value in it that says at a certain level we reorder inventory. And our forms, we have a lot of forms, and that's a lot of work that's already been done for you. All right, now back to our other, and I do not need to save anything out of that. And glory hallelujah, it looks like I have closed the other one as well. All right, so back in the database that we were looking at, I want you to notice on this form that we have a form and we have a subform. This is dealing with the authors table, and this is dealing with the books table. So notice we have the book title. We can slide over here and we can see the other items that are in there. So we can make changes to these records in these forms, and that's a very nice way to do that because I can do the author and the book. I can look them up that way. Let's open this one, and I can add things in here. This little asterisk here means that you can add another record. We'll see if it likes it. Should have some data validation that might tell you that it didn't like it because I'm just throwing anything in there, but it was okay with it. You can also quickly on the fly add, and when you do, it's going to ask you what is your data type that you want to add, and we'll say short text, and we'll put author title. You cannot have a space. Actually, I think you can have a space in your field name. Anyway, there we go. So we can add that way. When we go back to maintain authors, I can, if I had multiple pages here, I can go through multiple pages, record 1 of 2, or through the records. And down here, I can go through the different authors. And I can also search for an author in this box. This box is going to search for the main form, which is this part. And this search box will search for the subform, which is there. And I think really that's about all you need to know to be able to complete your first project. And I hope you enjoy it. I would advise you to set some time aside that you can work on it without interruption, because the tasks that you're going to complete in this chapter are kind of trivial, but it's going to get much more difficult because we will be doing actual programming. So I hope you enjoy, and feel free to contact me if you need anything or have questions.